Hi, Scott the winemaking guy from allwinemaking.com here with actually not a, well, I guess it's kind of a tip, but it's also me asking you your opinion on something. So my question is, what kind of yeast do you typically use when you make your wine? Usually it's going to be a dry yeast because that's usually what's included in winemaking kits, and I'm sure when you go to the winemaking store it's what you're going to grab when you go if you're making wine from grapes or from fruit. Well, have you ever considered using a liquid yeast like this one from Yeast Technologies? Really the question is, does it make a difference? Does it mean that you should pay the extra money? Because after all, this is a $2 yeast packet and this is a $10 yeast packet. Well, cost may vary depending on what the costs are at your wine store. So let's explore some of these differences. One is how you rehydrate the yeast. Usually with this dry packet of yeast, you're going to either sprinkle it over your wine must, depending on your instructions in your kit, or you're going to put it into a warm cup of water, let it sit for 15 minutes, and it'll liven up those yeast cells. Liquid yeast is interesting because it's kind of all contained in the yeast package. This has, you can feel it, there's an inner nutrient pack that when you want to use your yeast, you're going to squish the pack together, shake it. If you let it sit for 3 hours, for example, it's going to bust out into this huge inflated pack. Then you can pour it into your wine must, and away you go. It also, if you wanted to, you can, after you've activated the yeast by pressing the pack, you can also just pitch it into your yeast right away. From what people tell me, you're going to get a lot more fermentation action from the liquid yeast than you are from the dry yeast. So really, is this worth the cost? Is this worth the expense? I guess if you're one of those people who are making wine because you like how cheap it is to do it, you're going to go with a dry yeast. If you're somebody who's maybe spent more money on a premium wine kit, or really are a connoisseur and want to make sure that you get the best quality of wine, if you haven't used the liquid yeast before, then I highly recommend that you try it. Those who think that it's really much ado about nothing are ones you're going to typically going to argue, for example, that it's more important the kind of yeast that you make that matches up to the type of sugar that's in your wine must versus anything else. Those who are the purists, who prefer the liquid yeast, are the ones who are more of a quality ingredients give you a quality outcome. So I guess it really boils down to personal preference. So if you haven't tried the liquid yeast, try it out and let me know how it works out. You can get in touch with me through my website, which is allwinemaking.com. Until next time, I'm Scott the winemaking guy, who's wishing you the best of luck with your winemaking endeavors. Stay tuned for more winemaking tips. Bye for now. To get more handy winemaking tips like this one, please visit my blog today at allwinemaking.com/WordPress. See you on the blog.